The Netflix series Dear White People just debuted their third season in the beginning of August, and I personally, as a committed fan of the show, have watched the entire season in a matter of 3 days. The show pushes boundaries, but also sheds light on so many controversial issues regarding race, class status, and struggles of college life. And today we have none other than Nia Jervier with us, who plays Kelsey Phillips on the show. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming. I know your commute here wasn't that great.
Yeah, it was insane.
But we're glad that you were able to make it.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about Kelsey. I know for those who haven't seen the show, because she's a very complex character.
She is. She is a lipstick lesbian college student who had a very privileged upbringing, but really wants to be part of the woke community at her university because I think she wants to be part of the change that the world needs, and she knows that that's where she should start.
Right.
So even though the woke community doesn't necessarily receive her that well initially, she just shoves her way in there just because she wants to be part of the change, and she'll do anything she can to, I don't know, spark joy in people's lives at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different things about Kelsey, right? So let's first talk about this dog.
I know.
So Kelsey lost her dog at a point in time in the show, and actually it became a really big ordeal and had it was a really big staple of the show. Can we talk about that?
She was freaking out because there was a blackface party on campus, and she never really thought that things like that existed anymore because she sees the world through rose-colored glasses. So the dog was given to Kelsey because she was suicidal, and he's a therapy dog. So I think that she thought she couldn't survive without him at first, and once she became stronger, I think he became more of a pet and a loved one. Mm-hmm. So now she's freaking out again, but because she has no idea where he is. Right. But the fans are always like, where is the dog? And then you just sort of see the dog here and there in the series. He's popping in and out. You just really don't know what's happening. So
right.
I guess I don't want to spoil too much for people that haven't seen season 3 yet, but I think it would be nice to find out what happens to Sorbet.
I agree. Now, as I just said, I have already watched.
I was so excited
season
when
3.
you said that.
I have already watched season 3, and I've been such a fan of the show.
Yay.
And I just want to talk about the character progression of Kelsey. I think that in the beginning of the show, she was just, this ditzy little black girl who was on the show. But then now I feel like she has much more of a character on the show, and now we're seeing much more of her. She has a romance now.
Yeah.
So let's just discuss, her in depth.
Yeah, I feel like at first she was this naive source of comic relief, I guess, and she seemed very vulnerable and fragile and this very ditzy, airheaded girl. And now I think she's had a chance to showcase a lot more of her substance. Thank God our writers are so amazing. They've really fleshed her out. And I think that she's a breath of fresh air.
Right.
She is exactly what people don't expect her to be.
Absolutely.
Yes, which I think is really necessary for us to showcase, especially as people of color, because I think that people expect us to be a monolith, and there's so many variations and intersections within who we are as a people. So I think it's important to showcase that she can come from a rich family and a privileged upbringing and have a very sugar-coated view on life and still be strong and still, she's a lesbian and she doesn't come in a package at all that I think people would expect that to be either. And I think it was important for queer black girls to see this type of black girl showcased on a show that's so popular. And I was so happy that she found love this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's touch on that. The representation of black lesbians. There's so many different boxes that they put them in. And, with Kelsey, she's a different type that you don't really see.
Yeah.
So, let's discuss the representation of different types of LGBTQ people in media.
Yeah, I think that LGBTQ people come in boxes that are not necessarily the boxes that the world thinks that they do.
Right.
So, an LGBTQIA person is your neighbor, is your friend from church, whatever that is. And I was really happy that I got to be the vessel that Kelsey lived through and got to explore that because, like, I'm an LGBTQIA ally, but I live my daily life with people that are very different than me, but whose lives I understand, and it seems very normal to me. And I think that it needs to be more normalized for the world.
Absolutely.
So any way that I can be a part of showcasing that, I'm obsessed with.
Yes, yes. So now with Dear White People, when was this presented to you and how were you accepting of it when you first were introduced to the concept of the show?
Oh my God. So Justin Simeon is a really good friend of mine. So I had read the script when it was still a movie. And then I was part of the movie in a very small aspect. And so when I was invited to be part of the show, I was over the moon excited. This is, as actors, you want to work and you spend so much of your life just trying to audition and trying to have a job. But when you get to marry a dream character and a dream job, just the content, it tickles people's brains and makes their heart pump, and it makes them call their friend and ask questions or discuss things. And that's the type of art that I want to be a part of. So when it was presented to me, I was, of course, jumping all over it. There's no way I wouldn't.
So with the show breaks so many different barriers. They discuss so many different things. So many, especially, I don't want to ruin the season for anybody. But in this specific season, I was taken back by, there was a comparison between how they treat basically white heroes, I guess you could say, in comparison to Black heroes. So let's talk about how Dear White People has always figured out a way to break the barriers and discuss things that need to be discussed.
There is not a topic that I can think of that we have not discussed or unearthed, which I think is so important and not very easy to do without beating people over the head with information.
Right.
The fact that it's done with satire, I think, sugarcoats or honeycoats it a bit and makes it a little easier to swallow. So you're learning a lesson or learning something new or checking yourself on some craziness that you do that maybe you wouldn't have thought of if you hadn't watched the show, which I think is the gift. And the fact that it's done through entertainment, I mean, it's not usually like that. It's not like our show is a documentary or something super political, but it is.
Right. And it touches on so many different things, like I said. And it's crazy that all of this is happening on a college campus, which makes it even much more relatable, I think, because you do deal with certain things like this when you're in college. I know me personally. I do have to deal with certain things, and I have friends and people know people who have dealt with the type of issues that are discussed in Dear White People. So I'm really excited for everybody to go ahead and watch season 3. So what can we expect from Nia?
Wow. Well, I'm in New York working on a few new things. So I guess you'll find out a little later, but I'm excited about all the things that Nia's doing and the gifts that Kelsey has given me that have like planted seeds towards the new things that Nia will be working on.
All right, well, we are excited. We are excited to see whatever you have coming up.
Thank you.
And again, make sure you guys check out season 3 of Dear White People. Nia, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.